Hi, this is Jay Horwitz with a special edition of the Amazing Mental Alumni podcast. It's the Hall of Fame edition. And you know the old expression, which does it belong and why? This is one of those things. On July 31st, before the Reds game at Citi Field, we're going to induct Jon Matlack, Darling and Edgardo Alfonzo into the Hall of Fame. Fans should be in the seats by 6:45 to the ceremonies begin. Let me give you a quick rundown of our latest inductees. Jon Matlack, member of the 1973 National League Championship Mets, co-MVP, the 1975 All-Star Game, Rookie of the Year, 82 Mets wins, 65 complete games, 26 shutouts, led the National League in strikeouts, 1974 and 1975. Darling, 1986 World Championship Met, fourth on the all-time list with 99 wins, Gold Glove winner, All-Star. Put together 6 seasons with double-figure wins, including 1986 when he was 15-6 with a 2.8 ERA. And Edgardo Alfonzo, 292 career batting average, Gold Glove, All-Star, 52 home runs in 1999 and 2000, 81 doubles, member of the 2000 National League Championship Mets. Hey, I just forgot what record that Darling held. Most numbers worn by a pitcher with the Mets, 17, 44, and 12. Not even close. True, though. Hey, before I forget, this ceremony was supposed to be a year ago. Then COVID hit. What does it mean to you guys on the 31st that there'll be fans here in the stands and hopefully have a full house? Jon, why don't you start off first?
I think it's absolutely dynamite that we're hopefully on the backside of this terrible epidemic, and it sort of put things on hold for a long time, but hopefully we're coming out of it now. It'd be really great to see everybody.
How about you, Ronnie?
Well, one, I think I was looking forward to going in with Edgardo and Jon, of course. And now that we're going to do that, I don't know. I just think it's great to be in front of the fans. Hopefully we have a sellout house that night. And I don't know if Jon and Edgardo feel the same way, but, when you are lucky enough to get into a Hall of Fame, there's so many people that are responsible for you even having a shot. So to recognize some of those folks, I think, is what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. Jon, why don't you speak to that question? Who would you like to recognize on the 31st?
Oh, man, any and all that played alongside and behind me during the course of my career, because without them you can't do it. It's a team game, and it takes everybody. It takes a village. It takes everybody to make it happen. How
about you, Fonz?
For the first question, definitely it's a pleasure to be inducted to Met Hall of Fame with those two super guys. I think we're so blessed to be part of it, and especially I've been waiting for this for 15 years. One more year now, it's not make difference. Then to say last year, I'd be inducted to the Met Hall of Fame, and I waited a whole year to get to this point. We all this guy. I think it's going to be a great opportunity. And to me, I think I would like to thank to everyone in New York. I mean, everyone who makes this possible, because when you play baseball, you don't expect to, or you don't say, okay, I'm going to play good because I'm going to go to the Hall of Fame. No, it's not like that. So I think it's a lot of people involved in this, and I feel so happy to be part of this 2021 Hall of Fame with Ron and Joe. I think it's great.
You guys got to the Mets in different ways. I mean, Fonzie was an unsigned free agent. Jon was a 4th-round draft pick. Ronnie was a #1 pick of the Rangers. We got in a trade. And each had kind of different beginning. Fonzie, why don't you speak to the fact when you came up, you wanted to play shortstop, and Ray Ordonez came up. You wanted to play third base, and Robin Ventura appeared. And then he became part of probably the greatest infield in Mets history with Oliver, yourself, Ray, and Robin. Why don't you talk about the beginning, how you had to move around a little bit with your positions?
Yeah, definitely. In 1991, I signed as a free agent from Venezuela, signed as a shortstop, and I was good. I was a good shortstop, Jay. Believe me, I was doing good. And
Ronnie, we believe your thoughts. Trust me.
No, I play my rookie year. I play a little bit short and second base. And then following year I play more short. I started play second base in Double-A when they signed Ray Ordonez. Remember they signed the Ray Ordonez, and then they say they know that I can play second base, and they moved me to second base. So Ray made my job so easy in second base because he get me so comfortable there. And then when we come into the big leagues, I remember my first year at Dallas Green told me that then he gonna use me as a utility guy, and I got to play second, short, and third. So I'd be around, and the first time I played third base is when Bobby Ball got traded to, I believe it was to Baltimore.
Baltimore.
That was the only time that I play everyday third baseman. So remember, I just signed the shortstop, and I got more. I feel much better moving around second and short. But third base, I had to go to play winter ball to play third base, and in Venezuela, and we got the chance to sign Robbie Ventura.
Yeah,
it's how everything started.
That's great, great fun. John, let me ask you, your first game with the Mets in 1971, you thought you had a win in St. Louis and Cincinnati, and Tom Seaver comes in and blows a save for you. And what was it like for you coming into a rotation with Koosman and Ryan at some point and Tom Seaver? Was it hard to find your own niche?
In a word, yes. It was like walking into a place and hoping that you were going to be able to measure up and trying to glean whatever you could information-wise from these guys that had been there and were doing it in terms of what it was going to take and how can you improve yourself, and not wanting to let anybody down. It was definitely an uphill battle.
Yeah. Ron, you had the same situation. You came to the Mets in '83, pitch a game, and your first three batters you had really, really easy guys to face. Joe Morgan, Pete Rose, and Mike Schmidt. It got better after that, right?
It's funny. I know these guys will say the same thing. When you're young, it's good to be young and dumb. Because if I'd have thought about facing those three hitters, I probably would have never got out of the first inning. But you have the hubris as a young athlete that you can take down anybody at any time. And, when you're in the minor leagues, you hope that you're brought up to the major leagues when you are ready. And I felt like I was ready. And I know those guys are Hall of Famers and historical and iconic, but they were standing in my way getting through the first inning. So that's kind of how I thought about it, even though they're iconic players.
Ronnie, you got with the Mets really when probably the best run in team history from '84 to '90, first or second place all the time. And we were there when Dwight came. And I always felt that you, like John and his thing, really got overlooked a little bit. I mean, you really didn't never pitch an opening game. You pitched the Rodney Dangerfield game?
Yeah. Game. You get no respect.
But the no respect game. But, I mean, was it hard, not playing second fiddle, Doc, but I mean, being there and, trying to earn your own niche?
No, I didn't feel that. I know what John's saying as far as, they had an established kind of bunch of guys. So he had to find not only his niche on the mound, but probably had to find his niche in the clubhouse. I never had that issue. We all came up around the same time, which really helped. Dwight was Dwight, he was just so good. There was no use being jealous of it, just to admire it. As far as a niche or whatever, I don't know, sometimes being overlooked is a good thing, Jay. Sometimes just being in the dark, being overlooked sometimes is a good thing because you're not always, you can just do your job. And I always felt better when if you just left me alone and then every fourth or fifth day threw me out there that I could get the job done. So being in the spotlight, even though I spent my life in the spotlight, was not always my first choice.
Yeah. Talk about some of the big games you guys were a part of. John, I'll start with you in the playoffs in Cincinnati in '73, a 2-hit shutout the second game, and you pitched great in the World Series. You only really got one win. But what was it like for you pitching in the postseason in the World Series for the Mets in '73?
It's without a doubt the most enjoyable and fun time I had in baseball, I think. It was nerve-wracking for certain, and when I watched how Tom pitched, I charted that game in game one. Couple of home runs beat us 2-1, and I'm looking at 14, 15 strikeouts and a really well-pitched ball game thinking, how in the world am I going to be able to beat this club if that job didn't do it? And so you just take an out at a time, a pitch at a time, and try and wade your way through the lineup. And that was the approach that I took, and it paid off.
Fonzie, August of 1999 in Houston, you go 6 for 6, 6 runs scored, 3 home runs. Were you in a groove that day, Fonzie, you think?
Oh, definitely. That was the game that I'm never gonna forget that game. I still have a video from that game, you know. And every time I'm by myself, I put it in and I watch it because that was a special day for me. I think, you know, to get to get a base hit, you guys know. I mean, to get a base hit in the game is tough. And that day I get 6 plus 3 home runs, and that was something that I don't even know what happened that day. Into Bobby, he told me, "Do you know what you just done today?" I said, "Bobby, I know I went 6 for 6, but he told me, that was one of the best games I ever seen. I ever been coaching, and I think you went to the record or whatever. A few guys been doing it, and that day, believe me, everything looked like huge. You know, I even I let the guy get me into a 2 strike, and then, you know, I still hit the ball because that was a great feeling."
Fonzie, the game was in Houston. You weren't getting the signs, were you?
What?
You didn't get the signs, did you? Because the game was in the Astrodome. No?
He heard that trash can.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Let me go back to game 4 of the World Series. You know, a Massachusetts native. We're down 2-1. You go to Fenway Park in front of probably a lot of relatives and friends, pitch 7 shutout innings to get back to even up the series. What was that day like for you?
Well, first I want to say, you know, Pavlov's dog, well, Fonzie's dog, it barks every time it hears he went. But as far as game 4, you're right, Jay. I had been in Fenway Park a couple of times as a young kid, as a fan, but I had never stepped on that field. And the one thing I remember about that game is that I had probably the worst warm-up I'd ever had in organized baseball. And I remember I told Mel at one point, Mel Stottlemyre, pitching coach, I said, "This ain't working, Mel. I'm loose. Let's just go back to the dugout and like regroup and make it simple." And then went out and luckily I didn't have as good a stuff as I had in game 1 when I lost 1-0, but somehow got through the lineup and Gary Carter, the late great Gary Carter, hit 2 home runs that day, so made it much easier. But you know, to get it even at 2-2 after where we were at 0-2 after 2 games, it felt really great. And the one thing I remember, you know, as you get older, you start to remember all these things, but the sideline reporters for the national game that night where I got interviewed after the game were Peter Gammons, you know, it was kind of like the commissioner of baseball, and Marv Albert were the 2 sideline reporters.
Wow, I remember that. Yeah.
Is that crazy?
Yeah. I just want to remind the fans again, July 31st, being your seats by 6:45 for the ceremony. John, all 3 of you guys played were probably the most successful managers in Mets history. John, you just got Gil Hodges. I mean, I know he passed away April 1st, 1972. How well did you get to know him in a short time you were with the Mets before then?
Well enough to be absolutely scared to death of him on one hand and feel like he was an uncle on the other hand. If I were to see him in the hallway in a hotel, I would probably go the other way rather than go past him and say good morning. But on the same hand, if you had a problem or you had a question, you knew his door was open and he was going to shoot straight with you. Really a shame that I didn't get to spend more time with him. It was a tragic loss.
Well, Joe, how much did that affect the club? Do you remember he died on a golf course? Do you remember much about that day at all?
It happened during that 9-day strike in 72. I had already been sent out with the other players, and they went to play golf, and I heard about it on the news like everybody else. And it was a tragic loss and a tremendous shock, no doubt.
Fonzie, talk about Bobby Valentine. What did he mean for your career, and how has he play for Bobby V?
I think Bobby was. I always say that's the guy who you play against Bobby, you want to kill it, definitely, because it's just the way he is, But when you play for Bobby, it's different because he's gonna be right behind you, 100%, and he always taking heat. He always there for you. I remember a few times he told me, "Hey, one of those weeks, then you don't produce the way you're supposed to. You don't feel good. Everything's going like a roller coaster." I remember one time I come out of the game. I come out of on the tunnel, and come out of the Shea Stadium lockers. You had to go through Bobby's office, and he was there. He called me up, and he said, "You sit over there and close the door." And I said, "Oh my God, what I did." So he started talking to me about what kind of player I was and what kind of player I was showing right now. So that makes something click in my head, and change the whole thing about that season. And maybe I needed that from somebody. Bobby was the right guy because he knows me. So I get to know him pretty well, and he was really teaching me how to play the game.
Right. Tell me about Davey.
Well, I got a great story to tap you into. Davey, not only a smart baseball guy, new talent, but also so confident, uber confident. So I had been not scuffling in AAA, but certainly not pitching up to my, as good as I could pitch. And Davey was my manager in AAA, and I was thrown on the side, and he said, when I watched you pitch in college, you had more of a 3/4 action. How come you throw straight over the top now? And I said, well, you guys want me to throw straight over the top. He goes, well, that might have been other people. It's not me. Where do you feel most comfortable? So I started throwing a little more 3/4, and he's like, now that works. Don't change that. And if you can get this mechanics all straightened out, I'll bring you to the big leagues next year. And I said, well, Dave, you're not even a manager of the club. He goes, I will be.
Wow.
Davey was just a confident dude, but he also knew how to coach. He knew talent. And once the game started in the white lines, he was magnificent.
Ronnie, it's his press conference in '83. He opened up and said, "Thank you for hiring me, Frank. Why did it take you so long?" That's the way we began his press conference. John, I want to talk about a couple of different games to you guys. John, in '73, what do you remember about the "you gotta believe" Tom McGraw's remarks? That's been taken kind of different connotations through the years. In July that year, you guys were last place, and M. Donald Grant had the clubhouse meeting, and Tug yelled, "You got to believe." And what do you remember about that moment?
Well, it was the end of a clubhouse meeting where he was pretty much telling us we hadn't done the job that we needed to do, and it was about time we stepped up and took it to business. And I think Tug was enthused by the whole thing, and that's how it came out. He was a very vivacious guy, and that's his way of expressing what that meeting meant to him.
Yeah. One particular game in '73, I don't know what happened today. You're playing the Braves, and you get hit with a line drive in the head, a fractured skull, and you're only out about 10 days. How did you manage that?
I'm not sure they would allow that to happen today. I'm not sure they should have allowed it to happen back then. But I don't know. It's one of those freaky things. I lost sight of the ball when it was on its way to the plate. I overthrew a pitch. I see the bat swing. I hear the ball hit the bat, but I never saw it till it was right in front of me. It was too late to really do anything.
And you just missed one start?
Missed one start. Got 3 days in intensive care, fractured skull, sort of a brush burn kind of bruise over my left eye where it hit me. And then Dr. Parks cleared me to play, and I joined the club on the road. And we came back home and ended up pitching 6 innings against, I think it was the Pirates.
I thought my stats are correct. Down the stretch, you were 5-1 from August to September, and a big part of that push to win at the last day of the year in Chicago. I mean, you had a great part of the year. Ronnie, I want to ask you about 2 games. Probably one. I know you had a great career at the Mets, but for me, it's probably your most famous game you ever pitched. 40 years ago, against Frank Viola, former teammate to be. You're pitching for Yale, 11 shutout innings, Frank St. John's. You lose 1-0 in the 12th. the game was written up probably more than any other game you pitched in your career. Would you agree?
It has been 11 no-hit innings, by the way, Jay.
What did I say? Excuse me.
11 no-hit innings. Now,
Yes.
I don't know
Just a small detail.
I don't know what it says about me that the most famous game about me is the game I lost, but I guess that's how it goes. But I don't know. It was iconic because it was a collegiate game. It was also against Frank Viola, who was unbelievable. And it ended up being one of those games that people still talk about. And also Roger Angel, the great New Yorker writer, wrote about it, called The Web of the Game in the New Yorker. And anything he writes goes straight to gold. So I think that was a big part of it too.
Yeah. The other game I wanted to touch on was the game in Atlanta. It's in 1985, right? It was
85.
1980 game. You come in and pitch in relief. In the 19th inning, Rick Camp had a home run against Tom Gorman. I think that was your only relief appearance up to then, or until later on.
Yeah, and it was a 19-inning game. Started on July 4th, started on July 3rd, ended on July 4th. Numerous people got thrown out of the game. It rained about 4 or 5 different times. I threw the last pitch to Rick Camp, who had hit the home run the inning prior, to strike him out. And after I was done making that last pitch at 4 o'clock in the morning, they lit the fireworks in Atlanta, and people thought it was the War of the Worlds or something, that Atlanta was being besieged. My memory of that game is because there were so many people in the clubhouse already, guys that had already played, guys that had pitched, guys that had been thrown out, that when I came in the Mets locker room, I'll never forget as long as I live, I never saw so many Budweiser cans and Chick-fil-A wrappers on the floor of the clubhouse in my life.
Oh, my God.
It was just a pig pen in there with guys that had a couple of too many beers and ate too many chicken sandwiches. But it was, to come off the field of competing at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're like kind of excited because you won the game and it's an iconic game, all that, and to come in and to see the reality, as John and Fonzie know, of what a clubhouse can look like. It's not so glamorous.
For real.
Before, I just want to talk one pitcher, Tom Seaver, which you guys are very familiar with. John, what was it like being on the same staff in his prime with you in the 70s with Tom? What did you learn from him?
A ton. I was so fortunate when they brought me to the big leagues to be put in the locker room directly between Tom and Jerry Koosman. Learned a ton from each of them. They were both very forthcoming with information, knowledge of how they got where they were and what they were doing and how they did it. Tom more so on all the philosophical and mental part of the game. Kuzi more so on this is the pitch sequence I used against this guy, since we were both left-handed. It helped tremendously. But one of the key things that Tommy told me that stuck with me a long time was that if you don't, whether you felt like you've earned it or not, if you don't claim the success you've had, you're doomed to give it back.
That's great.
Yep.
How about you, Ronnie? At the end, you were just with him for a year. I mean, you're interacting with his announcer. What were your memories of Tom?
Well, 2 memories. One is that in that September, as a call-up, he invited me to his house for dinner, which I thought was something that no one ever did before, and I thought it was amazing. But he told me something also, like John was saying. He had great philosophical thoughts on the art of pitching. And he told me something that stayed with me as long as I live. Said, if you're a major league pitcher, you're never a mile away. You're only an inch away. So when people come to change you or to have all these radical mechanical changes to your motion, he said, just deftly push them aside, because if you believe you're a major league pitcher, you're never that far away. Just a little tweak here or there. And I used that for my entire career.
Yeah, great stuff for John. Hey, Fod, did you interact with Tom at all? He was an announcer later on.
The what?
did you interact at all with Tom when he was an announcer at all?
A few times. I met, a few times that he come down, and I think, I was so shy to talk to Tom, because he's a huge, huge guy, and then we were talking a little bit. He just mentioned a few things about he liked the way I play, and I told him, wow, that's thank God I don't face you like in your prime, because I got no chance at all.
Yeah.
But I think it was a great human guy. And
you know what? People don't. We're coming up, Fonzie, to the 20th anniversary of 9/11, and people always give Mike Piazza credit for the 2-run homer to put us in the lead. But people don't remember that if you didn't walk in that inning, it wouldn't have been a 2-run homer, right? That's a crime. Yeah. People don't remember that, right?
Yeah, well, most of the time. But you know what? I tell the people I wanna hit the ball out, but unfortunately, the good thing was that I walked in front of Mike, and this is how we worked the whole season. Timo Perez, myself, and Mike. Timo get on base. I try to move over to a second base or hit run first and third. Just come on Mike. Boom. We worked all year like that, and I think that game was so special for us as a player. But most especially for the New York people, New York fans, New York natives, because everything we went through that year, and they need to see something different, to change his mind a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you this, guys. It's a pleasure for me to know all of you individuals, and congratulations again on your induction. Remember, it's July 31st, 6:45. Be in the stands. And John, Ron, and Edgardo, thank you for your time, and we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Jay,
Jay.
you have to be in the
Thank
stands.
you.
What time?
What's that?
What time do you have to be in the stands?
6:45. I'm gonna be serving popcorn and hot dogs.
What you don't want
I'll
to
text you the
Matt?
time for Monday. All right, John. Thank you, Fonzie.
All right, thank you.
Remember at 6:45.
Can I
Thanks,
go
Jay.
to the pool?
Good to see you all. Have a good day.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your
See you
time.
guys. God
Thanks.
bless.